Welcome to another AMoA Family Friday. This is Miss Cindy from the Alexandria Museum of Art, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of an art pep talk. So, have you ever gotten really frustrated while you were trying to make something, right? And then you just feel like, oh, I'm not good at this, right? Everybody does that. I've done that before, and I make lots of art. So, I thought today we could read a book that's very famous. Maybe you've even read this book before, but it's called The Dot. Now, The Dot was written and illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds, and it's about a little girl named Vashti. And we're gonna read it, and then we'll talk about it a little bit, okay? All right. Art class was over, but Vashti sat glued to her chair. Her paper was empty. She looks very unhappy. Vashti's teacher leaned over the blank paper. Ah, a polar bear in a snowstorm, she said. Very funny, said Vashti. I just can't draw. Vashti's very upset. We've all felt like that before. Her teacher smiled. Just make a mark and see where it takes you. Vashti grabbed a marker and gave the paper a good strong jab. There. She's very cranky about it. Her teacher picked up the paper and studied it carefully. She pushed the paper towards Vashti and quietly said, now sign it. Vashti thought for a moment. Well, maybe I can't draw, but I can sign my name. The next week, when Vashti walked into art class, she was surprised to see what was hanging above her teacher's desk. It was the little dot she'd drawn, her dot, all framed in swirly gold. See? I can make a better dot than that. She opened her never-before-used set of watercolors and set to work. What's she gonna do? I find it very interesting that she never used that set of watercolors. Now she's gonna give it a shot. Vashti painted and painted. A red dot, a purple dot, a yellow dot, a blue dot. The blue mixed with the yellow, and she discovered she could make a green dot. Vashti kept experimenting. Lots of little dots in many colors. If I can make little dots, I can make big dots too. Vashti splashed her colors with a bigger brush on bigger paper to make bigger dots. Vashti even made a dot by not making a dot. All right, so she's really experimenting now. At the school art show a few weeks later, Vashti's mini dots made quite a splash. Look at everything she did. Vashti noticed a little boy gazing up at her. You're a really great artist. I wish I could draw, he said. I bet you can, said Vashti. Me? No, not me. I can't draw a straight line with the ruler. Vashti smiled. She handed the boy a blank sheet of paper. Show me. The boy's pencil shook as he drew his line. Vashti stared at the boy's squiggle, and then she said, what do you think she's going to say? You want to make a prediction? I think I know. Please sign it. All right. So, that was really cool. As an art teacher, I really love that book because I've been frustrated before and I've made art. And when I was your age, I had really good teachers who just said, keep trying. And I had really great parents who said, just keep trying. And so I did. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do some experimenting. So sometimes I think when we make art, or when we try to make art, or make anything, we sit there and we're like, we know what we think the end product should look like, right? And so we just think of like it just is one complete thing. We don't think of all the little things you have to do to get to that place, right? So you have to start one step at a time, right? And sometimes the best art happens when you're just experimenting. Like Vashti just started. What did she do with those dots, right? How did she start? So we're going to do like Vashti did. And we are going to experiment today with dots. And we're going to see how many different dots we can come up with and then what we can make out of those dots. So this is going to be great because you might not have loads of materials at home, but it's cool because you're going to get to experiment. You could use a lot of different kinds of materials. So you might use some that I don't have. And while we're making our dots, we're going to be thinking about those elements of art. So for those of you who haven't joined us for an art element review, we're going to do that now. We're going to review those elements of art and then we're going to make something cool.
Artists use the elements of art to create amazing works of art. The first element is line, like the lines that Walter Anderson used to create these fish and its scales in his woodcut. And lines create shapes, like the shapes that Nicholas Monroe used to create his dancers in this painting. A three-dimensional shape is a form, like the form of this Dale Chihuly glass sculpture. In this Amy Guidry painting, she actually suggests form by using another element called value. Value is the darks and lights in an artwork, like those in this Elmore Morgan Sr. photograph. Value can also be used to create a mood in a painting, like the spooky somber mood in the Steamboat painting by George Rodrigue. Another valuable tool that artists use is color. Francis Pave uses color to create depth and interest as well as mood and energy in this painting. All of the elements we've talked about so far can be used to create space. Space refers to the space inside an object, the positive space, and the space outside of the object, the negative space. Look at how artist Arthur Secunda energizes the space around this figure using color, line, and shape. Last element is texture. Texture refers to how something looks like it might feel. Notice the bumpy texture of the feathers in this Morris Taft Thomas piece. Now, let's get to experimenting. I collected some different circles from around the house to make my dots with. This is the top of a mason jar. And I have a tape roll. I also found a cork that I thought I could use like a stamp. And then I just found a regular lid. You can get a variety of sizes of circles to make your dots. I found a can I thought I would use. And I gathered some other materials. Now, you can gather any materials you'd like. I used some crayons. I found some markers. You can use colored pencils as well, ballpoint pens, whatever you have. I pull a pencil out. Pencil's always helpful to have around. And I also have these inexpensive little watercolors that you can get these just about anywhere. Walmart has them, I think. So they're easy to find and they're inexpensive. I'm using a little acrylic paint today. You don't have to. If you have any inks around the house, if nothing else, you might have some food colors in the back of your cabinet. So ask your mom and dad about that. All right, so I also have some paintbrushes that I'm going to use later. And just something to put your paint on. I have this piece of palette paper, but you can use wax paper or paper plate or whatever. And then some paper. And then also some construction paper if you have any. So just see what you have around the house that you might be able to use. The materials, you can use any kind of materials for this. So you can be very flexible. We're experimenting. So I'm going to start with one of my lids. And I'm just going to grab a marker. These are just watercolor markers, very similar to a Crayola marker. And I'm just going to trace and make a big dot, a big circle. So remember, when you're tracing, to hold the object down firmly. It will keep it from slipping. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna try is I'm gonna use a little bit of food coloring. I use about 5 drops and I put it in this empty container that I have. And you can mix a little water with that if you want to. As you can see, I've been playing all day, so. And I'm gonna use my cork. And I'm going to just make sure that a little bit of food coloring gets all over the bottom of my cork. And then I'm just going to use it like a stamp and just stamp it on the paper. And it leaves kind of a cool impression with maybe a little bit of texture. Thought that turned out pretty cool. That's just blue food coloring. Now you can take, if you have some Crayola markers or any sort of water-based marker, you can use it to make a stamp. So I'm using my cork again on the other side, and I'm just coloring it with my marker. So yeah, just like that. And again, that needs to be a water-based marker. And if you just get a little bit of water and paint that on top of that, get it wet. And then that will also, let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, that worked really nicely. So it just makes like an ink stamp. So that worked pretty nicely. Gave me some, I have some nice texture in that one too, actually. And okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of my paint. And I'm just going to squish it around with my brush. And I'm going to grab my can. And then I'm going to make another type of stamp. I'm just going to, I'll see it like I realized I needed to move my paper so I wouldn't get paint all over it. That's already happened once today, so better safe than sorry. So just get your can in that paint real good so that it gets all around the rim. And we're gonna see what happens when we stamp that down. And presto. Okay, so I was really happy with the nice thin circle that made. I thought that was really interesting. And now I'm going to use my mason jar lid, and I'm just tracing the inside of it with a pencil. And now I'm going to trace the outside of it with a pencil so that I'll have a nice double circle. And that might be fun to use later to do something with. All right, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to bring my lid out again. And I'm remembering in the book when Vashti made a circle without making a circle. So I'm going to see if I can do that with a little bit of this little watercolor paint that I have. And I'm just painting around the lid. And I'm going to see what happens there. And I pulled out the blue and it started making me think of like clouds. So I'm kind of doing a little cloudy or maybe like a night sky kind of treatment. I just kind of got inspired by noticing the kind of marks that it was making and the color. And so that's, that's what you can do. You can just kind of let things inspire you. All right, so now I've got a circle, another dot. All right, so now I'm going to make a dot out of some construction paper. There we go. So I'll do a collage dot. And I'm just going to take my scissors and cut that out. All right, so now I have a dot that I can use my handy dandy extreme glue stick. And I'm going to glue that on the paper. You can use Elmer's glue for that too, of course. I had my glue stick and it was quick and handy. All right, I'm going to press that down. Okay. All right, so I'm going to make one more circle here, and I'm just going to do this with the paintbrush. I'm just going to make one more dot, And I'm just gonna swirl around a circle. Just simple. Yeah. So I've made a variety of dots in different kind of ways. And I'm gonna start to turn the dots into things. I wanted to see like how many different things I could make out of these dots. So I'm starting with the sunshine. I like making a zigzaggy line. That's one of my favorite kind of lines to make. It's just fun. And I'm giving it some eyes and some little happy sunshine. Okay, so what can we do next? Oh, I'm gonna attack that one. I'm gonna see what I can do with that one. So we have a sunshine, we need a moon. So that blue made me think of a night sky, so I decided to draw the man and the moon. I'm just using my crayon to draw him out, to finish drawing him. And now I think I'm going to just make a design out of this one, what's called a mandala. A mandala is just a circular design, and they're pretty fun to make. When you're done, they look really complicated, but you're just going to start in the center, and whatever you do in one part of the circle, you're going to do in the other part of the circle. So you're just starting with very simple shapes. I'm adding some triangles. I'm going to add some curved lines next in the next layer. And you're just going one layer at a time. And then I'm going to add some triangles. So it looks pretty complicated, but it was actually pretty simple. You just go one shape at a time. So that was pretty fun. I love making those. Okay, now we're going to draw a little bear. And I'm going to show you how to draw a bear one simple shape at a time. So we're going to start with sort of a flat, sort of an oval on the bottom half of the circle. And then we're going to make inside that oval a little triangle for the nose. And coming out of the bottom of that triangle, we're going to do two curves. Now that's going to make the mouth. Okay? All right. So now we're going to make two U's at the top of the snout we just made. Okay? Now those are for his eyes. And inside those U's, we're going to do two smaller U's. So they're like little upside down U's. Okay, so, and then we're going to do a couple of half circles at the top for ears. And inside those half circles, we're going to do smaller half circles so you can see the inside of his ear. And I've decided that I want this to be a panda bear. So I'm going to do big spots around his eyes. It's just a couple more U's. And then I decided to color it. And there you go, a panda bear, one shape at a time. Okay, so now let's look at this blue splotchy circle. It started to look like a planet to me. And so I was thinking, okay, well, I'll just turn it into a planet. It's not exactly planet Earth, but you know, you've got your land and then the polar ice cap at the top. So it could be a different planet. And then I was thinking I'd make a flower out of that pretty purple one and add some yellow for the pollen in the middle. And this little circle, I decided he would just be like a funny little guy singing really loud. I'm just kind of, this is kind of like brainstorming, you know? It's just whatever occurs to you. Just be fun with it, play with it. This is like playing. We're playing. We're playing with art. Okay, so how am I going to make it? I'm going to give him some little feet, and those are just simple shapes, just little loops that I color in. And okay, so singing, so it's going to look like noise coming out of his mouth, and then I don't really know what musical notes are exactly how to make them, but I know what they kind of look like, and they kind of look like that. So there's my little guy singing. I thought that would be funny. Now for this last one, I was kind of wondering what to do. Then I decided to pull my watercolor out, and I've been really excited about painting nighttime skies. So I decided to just get a little bit of pink, a little bit of blue, and some purple, and just start layering that in. Now I'm working on just regular sketch paper, so when you're working with these watercolors, you have to be careful not to use too much water. okay? And just you can kind of blend them in. And I got this really rough, scratchy brush, and I'm just dabbing my paintbrush into the paint, and then I'm gonna use my fingers and sort of flick some white paint on there to be my stars. Be careful when you do that you've got something underneath. You don't want to get that all over your house, you know. And then I'm just making little stars, little sparkly stars. Ta-da! That's my night sky. Okay, so I made some pretty, I thought I had really fun time experimenting today. And I'm curious, I can't wait to see what you make with your circles. Yours will be completely different from mine. And let's see, so did we use any elements? Well, there's a line. Actually, there's a few lines. Can you see them? And let's see, we have some shapes. And let's see. Well, we also have color, loads of color. And I think actually there might be one more element in there. Can you guess what it is? We have a little bit of texture, right? In the center of the flower and on my planet, it kind of has a bit of a bumpy texture. Okay, so are there any elements that I missed? I can't wait to see what you guys come up with for your dots. What are you going to make out of yours? Whatever you make, just relax and have fun.
I hope you had so much fun today working with experimenting with your dots. And I hope you'll remember next time you get frustrated making a piece of art, maybe all you need to do is just take a step back and make a mark, any kind of mark. And then just kind of relax and experiment. Good art's all about experimenting. So you enjoy your week, do lots of fun making, and I will see you next week for AMoA's Family Friday.